Hello friends. Today in this third episode of Editorial Made Easy, we are going to discuss another opinion piece that appeared on July 3rd, 2019 in the Hindu newspaper. The opinion piece is titled $5 trillion Economy Not by Wishful Thinking, written by R. Nagaraj, Professor, Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, Mumbai. For the convenience of analysis, I have divided the entire article into 7 screenshots along with summary of each screenshot. India is poised to cross GDP of $3 trillion during fiscal year 2019-20, and now the goal is to be a $5 trillion economy by the end of 2024-25. If we happen to hit the $5 trillion mark, our per capita GDP is expected to be somewhere around $3,600. In the very first screenshot, we can see that at the very outset, the author is raising a very pertinent question by asking, what does the targeted $5 trillion economy mean in familiar economic terms? So what does familiar economic terms stand here for? These are GDP at current prices and monthly per capita income. Therefore, the first screenshot could be summarized in these 2 points. First, translating the target of $5 trillion economies by 2024 requires some serious execution of a well laid out plan, policies and programs. Second, the economy of $5 trillion means GDP of rupees 350 lakh crore at the dollar exchange rate of 70. In this second screenshot, we can see that the target of $5 trillion requires compound annual growth rate of approximately 13%. Even if the growth rate is inflation adjusted, the required rate of growth still remains at 9% per year. Now if you see the third arrow here, the author is trying to compare the target with the Asian experience, especially that of China and South Korea. This again could be summarized in these 2 points. First, GDP of $2.7 trillion at current prices means that monthly per capita income is around rupees 11,900. Second, the GDP target of $5 trillion requires compound annual growth rate of 13%. Even after adjusting for a 4% annual inflation, the annual growth rate needed is still 9%, whereas India officially grew at a rate of 7.1% over the last 5 years. Here, the author is trying to draw our attention towards domestic saving rates and investment rate during the last 5 years. If you see the third arrow, the author is making a point that a 9% annual growth rate calls for a 39% of domestic saving rate and 41.2% of investment rate. This again could be summarized in these 2 points. First, historically both China and South Korea have managed to grow at the rate of more than 11%. Therefore, India's target of 9% seems realistic. Second, 9% annual growth rate calls for an increase in domestic saving rate from the average 5-year level of 31% to 39% and a corresponding increase in investment rate from the average 5-year level of 32.5% to 41.2%. In this screenshot, the author is emphasizing the point that India will have to turn into an investment-led economy by boosting the saving and investment rate by 8 to 9% point. However, if you see the second arrow in the screenshot, there is an apprehension on the part of author if the economy has really grown at much slower pace of 4.5% as suggested by former Chief Economic Advisor Mr. Aravind Subramaniam. This screenshot could be again summarized in these 2 points. First, effectively what it means that India will have to turn into an investment-led economy where it needs to have a 9% point boost to saving and investment rate. Second, if however the economy has grown at a much slower pace than officially claimed rate as suggested by former Chief Economic Advisor, then the growth rate of 9% would prove to be more daunting. In this screenshot, the author is drawing our attention to FDI inflow. It says that there is a widespread belief that greater foreign capital inflow would fill in the investment gap as evident from Niti Aayog's vice chairman's various pronouncements. In the same breath, the author is also advocating a saving rate that is close to 40% of GDP. This could be summarized in these 2 points. There is a misplaced belief that higher FDI inflow could fill in the investment gap, but even in China, FDI inflows as a proportion of GDP never managed to exceed 5 to 6%, most of which was round-tripped capital through Hong Kong. Second, in fact, the highest gross FDI inflow in India was witnessed during 2008-9 at 2.7% of GDP, decelerating after that. Here in this screenshot, the author is drawing our attention to the slowdown witnessed in the economy, where the domestic saving rate has declined from 31% to 29%, and gross capital formation has also seen a decline from 33.8% to 30.6% during the period of 2013 to 2017. In fact, the banking sector ability to boost credit growth is limited by NPAs, that is non-performing assets, and the governance crisis in the financial sector. Even export to GDP ratio had declined rapidly with a looming global trade war on the horizon. This screenshot could be summarized in these 2 points. First, net FDI rate of 1.5% during 2017-18 doesn't inspire confidence that it could help the economy in achieving the GDP target of $5 trillion. Second, the visible signs of a slowdown in the economy are evident from the decline in the domestic saving rate from 31% to 29%, and a reduction in gross capital formation rate from 33.8% to 30.6% during the period of 2013 to 2017, and decline in export to GDP ratio. In this last screenshot, the author is saying that even export to GDP ratio has declined rapidly with a looming global trade war on the horizon, as has been indicated by the Baltic Dry Index. If you see the second arrow here, it says in conclusion that though the $5 trillion target appears daunting, it may yet to be doable, provided policymakers begin with a realistic assessment by willing to step up both domestic saving and domestic investment. This last screenshot could be summarized in these 2 points. First, with a looming global trade war on the horizon, where the Baltic Dry Index that is a leading indicator of global trade, expected to decline further below 1000 points. And to put things in perspective, this index in May 2008 was 11,793 points. So the target of $5 trillion appears daunting. Second, it may still be achievable provided policymakers are willing to step up both domestic savings and domestic investment against the backdrop of uncertain economic times, without getting trapped into the wishful thinking of FDI-led growth. Now friends, after having understood all the jigsaw puzzles involved in achieving the $5 trillion economy, I'm sure you are now in a better position to answer a few of these probable questions on this topic. First, the target of $5 trillion economies by 2024-25 is achievable. Critically examine. Second, do you think FDI-led growth could help us in achieving the target of $5 trillion economies? Discuss. Third, against the backdrop of visible signs of a slowdown in the economy, how could we achieve the target of $5 trillion? Examine. Please do make an attempt to answer at least a couple of these questions. You can email me your best answer at editorialmadeeasy@gmail.com. And yes, for all those who are curious about my identity, I would like to share that I'm a civil servant who loves to help UPSC aspirants. So friends, that's it for now. If you feel some of your friends could benefit from this video, please do share it after subscribing the channel so that you could never miss the latest episodes. Thanks a lot for your patient listening. Bye for now.